Ever wondered what creates a monster? How does a person become the embodiment of evil? Today, we are re-delving into the chilling and perplexing childhood of one of history's most notorious serial killers, Ted Bundy. This isn't about glorifying him, it's about understanding the complex web of factors that might contribute to such darkness. The story begins not with violence, but with a secret. Theodore Robert Cowell was born on November 24, 1946, in Burlington, Vermont, to Eleanor Louise Cowell. From his very first breath, Ted's life was built on a foundation of deception. To avoid the social stigma of having a child out of wedlock in the 1940s, his family concocted a cover story. Ted was raised to believe that his grandparents were his parents and that his own mother, Louise, was his older sister. Imagine the profound confusion of that reality. He lived under the same roof as his mother, calling her sis, while the people he called mom and dad were actually a generation older. This fundamental lie about his identity would be a shadow that followed him for his entire life. Life in his grandparents' Philadelphia home was far from idyllic. Reports and later accounts paint a disturbing picture of his grandfather, Samuel Cowell. He was described as a tyrannical, bigoted, and violent man who was abusive towards his wife, his children, and even the family dog. Neighbors recalled him shouting racist tirades and being a source of fear in the household. Ted's grandmother, on the other hand, was a timid and nervous woman who reportedly underwent electroshock therapy for depression. This was the environment Ted was immersed in during his most formative years, a household filled with tension, anger, and instability. Even as a very young child, strange and unsettling behaviors began to emerge. One of the most infamous stories comes from his aunt, who woke up one day to find 3-year-old Ted standing by her bed, smiling, with a collection of kitchen knives laid out neatly beside her on the blankets. When she asked what he was doing, he just stood there, silently. This incident was so alarming that his family started locking the knives away. While some might dismiss this as a child's bizarre curiosity, in hindsight, it's a deeply chilling premonition. Ted was also described as a solitary and withdrawn child. He didn't connect easily with other kids his age. While they were outside playing games, Ted was often by himself, lost in his own world. He was shy, awkward, and struggled to make friends. This isolation likely deepened his sense of being different, an outsider looking in. Think about it. At home, his family structure was a lie, and at school, he felt like he didn't belong. Where could a child find a sense of normalcy or belonging in that situation? The family's big secret eventually unraveled. There are conflicting accounts of how and when Ted discovered the truth about his parentage. Some say he found his birth certificate. Others claim a cousin taunted him with the truth. Regardless of how it happened, the discovery was devastating. The woman he knew as his sister was his mother, and the people he called his parents were his grandparents. This revelation shattered his perception of reality and trust. He later expressed feeling intense anger and resentment towards his mother for the deception, a betrayal that he carried with him for the rest of his life. In 1951, seeking a fresh start and wanting to escape the toxic environment of her parents' home, Louise moved with 5-year-old Ted to Tacoma, Washington. There, she met and married a hospital cook named Johnny Culpeper Bundy. Johnny adopted Ted, and his last name was changed from Cowell to Bundy. On the surface, this looked like a chance for a normal life. They moved into a modest home and had 4 more children, giving Ted 4 half-siblings. He was now part of a conventional, working-class American family, but the name change and the new family didn't erase the underlying issues. Ted never bonded with his stepfather. He saw Johnny Bundy as unsophisticated and unintelligent, and reportedly held him in contempt. This disdain for his adoptive father created another rift in his family life. While his half-siblings seemed to fit into the family dynamic, Ted remained an outsider, aloof and disconnected. He continued to be a loner, preferring his own company to that of his peers or family. As a teenager, Ted's isolation grew, but he developed a facade to cover it. To the outside world, he started to appear more normal. He was described as handsome, smart, and well-behaved. He did well in school and was active in his local church youth group. But beneath this polished exterior, a darker side was festering. He was intensely interested in crime magazines, detective stories, and especially, true crime reports that featured gruesome details. This fascination went beyond simple curiosity. It was an obsession. Even more disturbing was his burgeoning habit of voyeurism. During his teen years, he began prowling his neighborhood at night, peering into the windows of unsuspecting neighbors. He was looking for glimpses of women undressing, feeding a dark fantasy world he was building in his mind. This was a significant escalation from his childhood behaviors. He was no longer just a withdrawn boy. He was now actively seeking out ways to violate others' privacy, a crucial step towards the physical violations he would later commit. He also started engaging in petty theft, stealing things he didn't need, like ski equipment and other small items, seemingly for the thrill of it. These early crimes were a way of testing boundaries, of seeing what he could get away with. Each successful theft and each peeping Tom incident that went unpunished likely emboldened him, reinforcing the idea that he was smarter than everyone else and that the normal rules of society didn't apply to him. Academically, Ted was bright but an underachiever. He had the intelligence to excel but often lacked the motivation. Socially, he remained awkward, especially around girls. He desperately wanted to be popular and accepted, but he didn't know how. This social inadequacy, combined with his simmering rage and dark fantasies, created a toxic internal cocktail. He developed a deep-seated resentment towards the popular, attractive women who seemed to reject him. Looking back, Ted Bundy's childhood is a tragic and terrifying puzzle. We have the foundational lie of his birth, the chaotic and abusive environment with his grandparents, the profound social isolation, and the eventual discovery of his true parentage, which he perceived as a massive betrayal. These elements combine to create a deeply fractured individual. While millions of people experience difficult childhoods without becoming monsters, in Ted's case, these factors seem to have converged with a disturbing internal disposition, creating a perfect storm. His early years were a breeding ground for resentment, alienation, and a complete lack of empathy. He learned to wear a mask, a carefully constructed persona of a charming, intelligent young man, to hide the emptiness and rage he felt inside. This mask would become his greatest weapon, allowing him to lure in his victims and deceive everyone around him, including law enforcement. For years, the boy who laid knives by his aunt's bed grew into a man who used his charisma to commit unimaginable acts. The story of Ted Bundy's childhood is a chilling reminder that the roots of evil can often be found in the lonely, confusing, and painful experiences of a child. Thank you for watching. If you found this exploration into the psychology of a killer fascinating, please consider liking this video and subscribing to our channel for more deep dives into the stories that shape our world. Stay curious and stay safe.